Ube ice cream is typically made with a combination of extracts and jams, and it's usually pretty sweet. Well, I wanted to make a savory ube ice cream to show off the subtle flavors. So I made some, and I screwed up. Big time. But that wasn't the end. Let's fix it. When I make ice cream, I like to use the best version of the ingredients I can get. I thought in this case, frozen ube puree would be the way to go. I mean, look at this stuff, that beautiful purple color. I was so excited because I knew this would be the best ube ice cream ever. I even got some ube powder as a backup in case it needed a little more ube punch. Now off to the stove to build that ice cream mix. Started off with my heavy cream. I use a little less milk than normal because I know the ube puree contains a bunch of water. Since I was going for a savory ice cream, I cut the amount of sugar in half compared to a normal recipe. And then some light corn syrup. It adds a little sweetness, but more importantly, it's an invert sugar, which will make the ice cream easier to scoop. I added some ube powder. I wanted to make sure that the ube flavor came through. And the ube puree. This is my main flavoring component. Using purees for flavoring was nothing new. I've done this many times before. I have one more flavoring surprise up my sleeve, kind of a secret hero ingredient, the vanilla bean. I knew that ube has a vanilla type flavor, so I knew a vanilla bean would boost that. So from here, I just stirred everything together. And heated things up. At this point, everything seemed to be going according to plan. The mix was hot, so off from the stove. Then I added a bit of the hot mixture to the cream cheese. Cream cheese performs some ice cream magic. I'll talk about that later in the video. Notice the mixture is already kind of thick. I knew I didn't need to add any thickeners to the mix because the ube powder would be starchy enough to start to pull it together on its own. At this point, I was thinking the mixture was exactly what I wanted. It had a nice natural purple color. The viscosity was just right. I just knew I needed to throw it in the blender to break down some of the puree into finer bits, just to make the ice cream a little more smooth. Using the blender wasn't the main mistake, but it did make my mistake worse. The ice cream mixture was still pretty hot, so as usual I put it in an ice bath to cool it quickly. And plastic wrap prevents excess evaporation. After about 20 minutes, the ube ice cream mix was cool enough to go in the fridge, but before I did that I thought I would check the texture just to make sure. That texture seemed a little gloopy for ice cream, so I thought I should add some more milk to fix that before putting it in the fridge. So I added some milk, then mixed it in, added some more milk, and mixed it in, and added even more milk and mixed it in. And finally, I got the texture where I wanted it to be. I knew how to fix the texture, but I also realized this wasn't normal. But really, there was nothing to do at this point except for cover it up and put it in the fridge for an overnight cure. Cross my fingers. When I pulled the mixture out of the fridge the next day, it was twice as gloopy as before. In fact, it was so bad, I don't even dare to show it on camera. I had created an ube starch monster, and it had an insatiable appetite for milk. Not only that, when I taste tested the ube ice cream mix, my tongue got really itchy afterwards. But this is when I realized there was a serious problem, and I had to do some research. So what is it about ube that makes it so starchy, and why is it itchy? Ube is a pure starch, which is very bad for using as a flavoring component for ice cream, because to get enough flavor in there, you have to ruin the structure. Ube doesn't want to be eaten. It has these tiny shards of calcium oxalate that really irritate your tongue and your throat if you eat them. This is why most people use extracts and jam for ice cream. Ube is a pain. I wasn't ready to throw in the towel just yet, but I knew I needed some hired help. Enzymes. These digestive enzymes, specifically amylase, should break down the starches into simple carbohydrates, both dextrins and glucose, which will make the puree turn into a liquid, and it will also get sweeter. So that will take care of the starch monster, but what about the itchy problem? To solve the itchy tongue problem, we're going to have to ditch the puree and use only ube powder as flavor. The process used to create the ube powder breaks down the oxalates, so no itch. I decided to use 4 enzyme capsules, and that's actually way more than you need, but it should work faster the more you use. I think I used to do something like this in high school, but I don't remember what was in the capsules. I kind of struggled with the first one, but by the 4th one, it's like some weird muscle memory returned. And again, I don't remember what the situation was. My mindset had completely shifted. I wasn't just making ice cream anymore. This was an exercise in determination. And that determination came in handy because there sure are a lot of steps to this. The first step takes 0 effort. You just wait. And when the 10 minutes are up, you just move to the stove. Next, you heat to 185 degrees Fahrenheit or thereabouts. The goal here is to gelatinize the starches, so you'll heat it, and then the next step is actually to let it simmer for 10 minutes. So again, you're just waiting. And maybe stirring once in a while. You can see we have a very nice ube paste there, so now the job is to cool it down. So for me, the best way to do that is to put it in a metal bowl, and then set it in a cold water bath. We're trying to bring it down to about 110 degrees or so. Now we're going to use a double boiler, and our goal is to maintain the temperature between 100 degrees Fahrenheit and 120 degrees Fahrenheit so the enzymes can do their work. The temperature stabilized, so let's go ahead and add the enzymes. I used a low heat for the double boiler, but I still kept an eye on the temperature. If you get the enzymes too hot, they'll stop working. Our hired help, the enzymes, are going to be hard at work, so we just have to wait. Let's see how they did. And just like magic, our thick paste has been converted into a runny liquid. There's still a lot of insoluble ube fibers in there, but that's okay. If you think we're good to go at this point, well, you're wrong. Now we need to deactivate the enzymes. Otherwise they will keep eating and they will eat the ice cream. We don't want that. Sorry guys, you did a good job. So next we need to reheat the liquid to 200 degrees Fahrenheit. And we'll let it simmer for 3 minutes. This will take care of the enzymes, and the ube will be safe to use in ice cream. This next step is optional, but I like a super smooth ice cream, so I'm going to try and strain out any extra pulp that I can. This isn't easy because our pulp came from a powder, remember, so it already has fine particulates. I was able to remove some of the pulp, but not as much as I would have liked. And finally, there's still a good amount of water content left in this ube, so I'm going to heat it up and simmer it for a bit to try and reduce the amount of water. We definitely don't want too much water in our ice cream. Now that the ube is starch-free and calcium oxalate-free, let's try a redemption batch of ice cream. And 160 degrees is just fine with me. Time for the cream cheese step. I mentioned earlier that cream cheese was an ice cream superpower. Well, there are 3 reasons why. The first one is dairy phospholipids. They're natural emulsifiers that lock fat and water together so your ice cream turns out smooth rather than greasy. The second is hydrocolloids. The gums already in the cream cheese trap free water to help keep the ice crystals smaller. And the third thing is casein proteins. Acid coagulated dairy proteins that add a rich velvety chew without needing egg yolks. Use some cream cheese in your ice cream mix and your taste buds will thank you. Going to go into an ice bath to cool off for a bit. And then in the blender. Last time I used the blender, not only did I break down the fiber, but I also freed up a lot of calcium oxalate to really ruin things. There's no worry about that this time. All I'm doing is breaking down the fibers. So we'll cover with plastic wrap again, and then into the fridge for an overnight cure. So next day, let's see what we have here. Hopefully no starch monster. Yep, that looks pretty good. I've honestly never been more nervous pouring an ice cream mix into my machine. Let's fire it up and hope for the best. "20 minutes later, we have ice cream. I didn't churn it quite as much as I would other flavors. The ice cream has a lot of ube fibers in it, and those fibers, if you churn it too much, will create a lot of air, and it just makes big crystals. It kind of throws off the texture. So just a soft churn is all you want in ice cream like this. And as usual, I put a layer of parchment paper on top to prevent freezer burn. Next we go into the freezer. You want to wait at least 4 hours. Overnight is best. If you've been enjoying this video, please like and subscribe so you don't miss any future fixes, and hit that notification bell. You'll notice the ice cream falls apart a little bit here. That's because it has a lighter structure. This is typical for Asian frozen desserts. It's time for a taste test. Fingers crossed on this one. You know, that's unlike anything I've had before. Try it again. Having never tried savory ube ice cream, for a moment I was at a loss for words. I think the best word to describe my ube ice cream is delicate, which is what you want for an Asian-style dessert. You get a vanilla and nutty flavor of the ube. The texture is very light and melts away in your tongue clean. It's a great palate cleanser. It's not overly sweet, very savory, and it celebrates the ube just like it should. I'm really happy with the results here. I know it was kind of an adventure. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. And if you did, may I suggest a couple others. If you want chocolate ice cream that has a little less drama, or if you want something different, try my blackberry cobbler. Both those recipes are shown right here. Thanks for watching. I should have just made pancakes.